Amazing opportunity, a true blessing, honestly. It feels really good to be selected by Coach Smart to be able to represent this team and the university, so I'm super grateful for the opportunity.
Have you spoken to anybody who's ever done this before? Kind of what have you been told about this whole thing?
Well, I actually did this last year.
That's
so
right, you did. That's
yeah,
right. That's
so
right.
I have a bit of an understanding of what it'll be about. So.
Yeah. What did you learn last year that you're going to hopefully apply this season to it?
I think the biggest thing is just making sure that you definitely take some breaks to drink some water, things like that. Because if not, it'll be a long day for you.
What do you feel the biggest difference is between coming here last year and coming here this year?
To be honest with you, I don't really see much of a difference. I think the biggest thing is just really taking time to, one, thank God, but also, thank Coach Smart of the university for giving me the opportunity.
There's obviously going to be a lot of questions about everything that's been swirling around. What message do you want to kind of send to everybody about that?
Can you repeat that question?
What message do you want to send? What is your message today going to be to people about what Georgia's program is about and everything that's been kind of written?
I think ultimately the biggest message that we kind of want to put out is just that we are always working to better ourselves. We're always looking to move forward to create the best version of the University of Georgia in all aspects, on and off the field. So I think that's what we're working towards.
I heard that you've gotten in front of the room and talked to players, whether it's O-linemen, teams, saying, yeah. What have you all said?
I can't really get into the specifics, but ultimately just holding each other accountable, holding each other accountable for mistakes that may have happened.
Who have been some of the other main names who've kind of spoken like you're talking about?
It's a bunch of guys. A bunch of guys have spoken up. A bunch of guys have mentioned different things, so it's kind of hard to say.
When you say holding each other accountable, what does that look like from a player's perspective?
So if you go into actions, I would say if you're out somewhere and you know guys are doing whatever they may be doing, just making sure you're looking out for your brothers. That's the easiest way to put it. Making sure guys are being taken care of, making sure everybody gets home safely, just things like that.
Have you started to see more of that recently? More of an example of guys taking care of each other and really going the extra mile, for lack of a better word?
I would say so. I would say guys are definitely more conscious, looking to take care of their brothers, want to make sure that we're all protecting each other at the end of the day.
I know Kirby's going to talk about reaching out over text and stuff like that, just asking everyone to get home safely and to be safe. Is that kind of something that's kind of carried from the players as well?
Yes, sir. We try to follow Coach Smart's messages as best as possible.
Absolutely. And what kind of role, I mean, you kind of lead that offensive line itself, but how is that role kind of translated as you kind of continue to stay here and grow as a leader? How has that been translated to just kind of being a leader for this team?
If I'm understanding your question correctly, I think you're asking me how has my leadership role kind of changed from last year to this year? I guess in a sense I'm just the older guy now. It's kind of weird at times, hearing some of the freshmen, talk about some of the things they talk about. So I think that's probably just the biggest thing. It's just that I'm a little bit older, have a little bit more wisdom, and different things like that. Guys kind of look at me as the older guy per se.
And what does it mean to be here a second year again, being able to represent Georgia?
It's an absolute blessing. Thankful for Coach Smart for allowing me to represent the university with Brock Bowers and Kamara Lassiter, two amazing players. So I'm just honestly thankful because this opportunity wasn't promised.
Could all these things that have been said about y'all, culture, et cetera, could that be fuel for y'all this year, motivation?
I mean, hypothetically it could be, but more so just understanding that we've made some mistakes, we own them, and wanting to move forward and correct them. That's really the biggest thing. So hypothetically it could be used for motivation for season purposes, but more so beyond that, just understanding that we have made mistakes and we own them, and we want to move forward the best way we can.
I'm hearing you say that the way to answer it is off the field, not on the field.
It's a little bit of both, to be honest with you, on and off the field, because the magnitude is that as student athletes we have a large responsibility to the university and to our families and ultimately to ourselves to handle ourselves in a certain way and in a certain light. And everything that we do is under a microscope, and I think we have to really understand that and understand that what you do on the field does matter, but ultimately what you do off the field matters even more.
For a lot of the younger guys, talking about being under the microscope, is that something a lot of younger fellas don't really realize at first when they come to a school like Georgia?
To be honest with you, it's hard to say because everybody's different. Everybody's individual. Everybody comes from different backgrounds, and some people learn, some people already have an understanding. That's just the biggest thing. I think that Coach Smart does an amazing job of getting everybody up to speed on the same level when they get there. We go through a lot of different things when we first come through, and those things continue throughout our years at Georgia. So I think it's more so just making sure everybody's on the same speed.
Talking football, obviously, there's a couple of you guys on the offensive line that played key roles last year. How have you seen those guys that maybe weren't necessarily, a starter last year? Amarius stepping into a bigger role, Ernest and Austin competing for a job. How have you seen those guys work and compete this summer?
That's a great question. I think ultimately they've done what we've always been asked to do. They work really hard. They do what they're supposed to do when we're at workouts, but also showing up on the weekends, getting the extra work. Watching the film, technique, whatever it may be, those guys are doing it to make sure that they can try and keep the standard of what the Georgia offensive line has been. Because it's a big responsibility. Guys like Jamari Sellier, Ben Cleveland, Trey Hill, all of those guys. Even you go back to like Lamont, all of those guys that played before us. And they really did, hold the standard of Georgia. So just those guys working to understand that they have a standard of